Now, there's hope that state-owned companies will finally be run by professionals. That's if the Department of Public Enterprises manages to have their recommendations adopted by Parliament. It's part of their drastic amendments to the National State Enterprises Bill. One of those proposed changes will see people with the required expertise run the entities away from political interference. Another recommendation is for the Department of Public Enterprises to be redefined. Let's unpack this further now. I'm joined by public policy specialist Dr Sam Koma. Doc, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. On the face of it, this draft that was released on Friday for comment, it looks good to me. It looks like it's something that is going to stop political interference.
Yes, you're right, Marcel. Thanks for the opportunity. Yes, what is packaged in the proposed bill, the objectives are quite noble, but then the jury is still out whether in the final analysis we'll have a bill, which of course it will be enacted into law, that sufficiently addresses the governance deficiencies and problems facing our state-owned enterprises. So we know that if the proposed bill, that is the National State Enterprises Bill, is enacted into law, the National Department of Public Enterprises, currently headed by Pravin Gordhan, will cease to exist because at the moment there are 6 state-owned enterprises that fall within the auspices of the Public Enterprises Department, that is Transnet, Eskom, Alesco, Dinel, and also South African Airways. Those state-owned enterprises will now be transferred into the holding company, which will be constituted or established in the form of the State Asset Management State-owned company. So that's what the holding company will be responsible for. But the major question that we need to ask is, how will the directors of the board be appointed? Because we need to see a process that is similar to how the Judicial Service Commission interviews and recommends appointment of judges. You remember Eskom in the last 3 years has had 2 boards. One was dissolved, and the issue was around the composition of the board, that you had individuals who lacked the required expertise, knowledge, and experience related to the energy sector. So it remains to be seen whether we'll have a similar process, or the best practice that is akin to the Judicial Service Commission will finally be incorporated into the bill.
And it sounds like what they have in Singapore and China, and I think in Malaysia as well, they have a state asset manager that looks after all state enterprises or state companies. Now, when you say that this will also mean that the Public Enterprises Department also becomes insolvent, or it becomes something that is of the past, that will also assist with the ballooning cabinet that the president has, right? That will also assist in that direction, at least.
You're right, Marcel. So definitely it will lead to major reduction of the size of cabinet or the national executive. But we know that, of course, the personnel that currently is employed by the Public Enterprises Department will be transferred to the holding company, because it will be a holding company with its own board, CEO, personnel, that is responsible for the array of issues that pertains to the running of the state-owned enterprises. So you're quite right here.
I'm just worried about a recent conference resolution of the ANC that wants line managers, or line departments rather, and line ministers. And this that the Department of Public Enterprises has now gazetted on Friday goes against ANC. And I know we have to have a separation of powers between government and the ANC, but at the end of the day, the Public Enterprises Minister is an NEC member of the ANC. So how will he be able to convince at least the ANC, which is majority in Parliament, to vote this bill in?
Oh, yes. So the ANC resolution was basically saying, or reads that currently the state-owned enterprises must fall into their line departments. Remember, the argument has always been you have Transnet located within public enterprises, yet you have Department of Transport. You have Eskom located in Public Enterprises Department, yet you have National Department of Energy. So the resolution says, take Eskom where it belongs, takes Transnet where it belongs, and also take South African Airways to the National Department of Transport because it deals with aviation.
Well, that's understandable, but with this and how you've explained it to us, that resolution also falls away if this bill comes in, because it's going to be an asset manager, an asset management company that looks after all of our enterprises instead of the line departments.
Yes, you're quite right. So basically, it means we'll have one national enterprises company, which is the holding company, housing these state-owned enterprises as subsidiaries, all of them, Eskom, Transnet, Denel, Alesco, South African Airways, and others. So you're quite right. It therefore nullifies the resolution of the ANC.
And just lastly, Doc, you know, you made a very important point, and you said that should be the question in terms of the appointment of the non-executive members of the board, the chairperson, etc., and how that should be made public. But we all saw some of the scrutiny that went into the JSC interviews with the head of the Constitutional Court. You know, a lot of people were saying, in any case, at the end of the day, the decision will be the president's decision anyway, and he will choose who he likes or who she likes if we ever have a female president. So maybe it should stay away from being an appointment that is, at the end of the day, made by the presidency.
Yes, but the good thing is that the process affords us as ordinary members of the public to have a sense that ultimately the individuals that are appointed to serve in these boards are fit and proper persons. They meet the criteria, they possess this knowledge, this expertise, and the qualifications that are required to serve in these boards. Remember, what has been the challenge around the governance of these boards is because of this lack of expertise that individuals are supposed to possess. So it will serve a good purpose if we have some kind of a commission independently running these interviews and also the selection of these individuals, but making recommendations to the shareholder, because government will serve as a sole shareholder, which has to take the decision at the end.
Dr. Sam Koma, thank you very much for your time and your expertise.